Well, welcome to episode 2 of the Game Breakers podcast, where we look at bringing you the tips, insights and experience from around the world of sport. My name is Rob Nicolay, and today I'm joined by my co-host Danny Wilson. But today our special guest is none other than former St Helens and most notably Warrington Wolves, Wales, Great Britain and Lance Todd trophy winner and current Warrington Wolves assistant coach, Lee Briers. Thanks for joining us, Lee.
Thanks for having us on, guys. It's all good.
Danny, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, again, just to echo Rob's gratitude, Lee. Appreciate your time coming on, and hopefully this will be enjoyable for you, as I'm sure it will be for us.
Yeah, anything to help. It should be good fun.
Happy days. Well, I'll kick off with a bit of an intro on you, Lee. So obviously, if anything's wrong, just blame Wikipedia. But began career at Saints and made your debut at 18 years of age. Made his international debut for Wales in '98, making 23 further appearances, and then was capped for Great Britain against France in their 42-12 win on the 26th of October 2001. Challenge Cup winner in 2009, 2010, and Lance Todd Trophy winner in 2012, and then 2019 winner as assistant coach. Played 425 games for Warrington, scoring a club record of 2,586 points, and coached through the academy pathway at Warrington, and obviously now assistant coach.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad.
You get it right, Wikipedia.
So, like I say, the sort of aim for the podcast for us is looking at sort of mental skills, attributes of a good leader and coach, and then sort of the person behind the player, which more often than not, fans aren't necessarily aware of. So, sort of socially and your personality, just give us sort of a description of yourself, of Lee Briers, the man, the son, the father, and the player, if you can sum it up.
Yeah, it's kind of changed over the years. In the early years was kind of a carefree person, just went without much care, and but now it's it's changed a lot. Being a father. Kids are older now. Actually, it's my son's birthday today. He's 17, and my daughter's 22. So you've got to be responsible. You've got to lead by your actions, and I suppose give them good grounding. So I don't know. I'll just one word, probably hopefully likable. That'll be the one.
So one of them leagues, obviously your son's on a rugby player as well, on a pathway, and you said about being likable. I remember when I was, maybe even my early 20s, and you think, I reckon I'll be a good dad. I want to be likable, for your son, and I suppose when you get into that role, there's things that you probably do what your kids probably don't necessarily like at that time. How is that for you when you're probably trying to sculpt your kids in a way to set them on the right path? Is it challenging to try and be likable, but at the same time set some standards there?
I think it's massively important that there's a line. Obviously, we want to be liked, and you've got to be the best role model. And if we go back probably 15 years, I wasn't a great role model. Not for only my kids, but for other people, which is a part of life. It's a part of that learning, part of the journey, what we're all on, without me being kind of I don't know, not so much an idiot, but no, that carefree, just went about his business and didn't really care about anybody else. If I was at that point now, well, then I think that I'd be in trouble. Mm-hmm. But I've learned some really good lessons along the way, and I've done some really good stuff as well, some not so good stuff. But it's important that you learn from it. So I'm at the point now where I'm in a really good place, both in my home life, in my work life, and in life in general. And my life is quite simple at the moment, and I see that for the foreseeable future. My life is first and foremost family, work, and golf. That's all to do. So it's setting those standards, and I suppose I look at my two kids, and we all say it. We all say our kids are the best, obviously. But I look at my two kids now, and they are absolutely. Well, I must be doing a good job because they're absolutely unbelievable. not an ounce of trouble, never have been. School-wise, you know, just socially wise, not an ounce. And, you know, my daughter now, she works for the NHS. I've not seen her for 7 weeks, 8 weeks of the lockdown. She's been, you know, working and not been home because of the chance of passing the coronavirus on. So, yeah, I'm really proud in what I started off and what I am now has been a hell of a journey, and it's just part of that journey. Hopefully, the next 40 years of my life are as, let's say, as eventful, but not as up and down as that.
Oh, like you say there, all that stuff, all your experience there, fully equipped there to pass on your knowledge and experience to guide your kids. And like you said, you're obviously doing a good job. Just pass on to your daughter our thanks for all the stuff she's going through now with the NHS. Incredible.
Absolutely, thanks.
Just you touched on there about golf, and we had a little bit of chat just before this, and obviously you're a very keen golfer. Is that your most favourite thing to do away from work to keep you on the straight and narrow?
It's the only thing I do. It's the only thing I do. So, yeah, obviously working, you know full well, Danny, you know, coaching full-time takes a hell of a lot of time and a hell of a lot of stress. And at any chance I get, I'm on the golf course. You know, put my phone in my locker and I spend 3.5 hours if it's a good day, or 4 hours if it's a bad day without my phone, and, you know, without the cares of the world, and just go and play golf. And it's, you know, I suppose, and actually I have realised and have reflected why we've been in this lockdown is actually why I've probably not struggled with mental health after the game, after I retired, because actually golf took over that challenge. So golf gives me a massive challenge every time I go on the course. I want to be better than the last time I was on it, and it don't always happen that way. And I've got some good golfing pals, but I've got one very good pal who we play most days. He plays off scratch. I play off 5, and he doesn't like playing without a bet. So if I'm not on, I'm losing money. Simple as that. Yeah. And I'm like, those Lancashire lads are just like you Yorkshire lads. We're tight, and we don't like losing money. So, but what that gives me as well, it gives me that competitive streak. That streak, and you've got to be on, and I've got to play well. And I just love the buzz of, you know, if we've got a 4-foot putt, whether it's for 10p or £1 to win, there's no better feeling. And it absolutely frightens the life out of you. And it's just a competitive nature. I mean, I look forward all week to playing. We play in the comps on a Saturday. And I look forward to that game so much, it's untrue. And, you know, I was quite nervous as a rugby league player, but playing golf one-on-one is a totally different, you know, aspect. It's really nerve-wracking because I'm that competitive and I don't want to lose. So yeah, I suppose that's helped me a hell of a lot, and I've realised that.
Oh, golf, you say, you're by yourself. It's not a team sport. You're standing over that ball. If it's a 4-foot putt, if it's a 4-inch putt for me, there's every chance of missing that. So, understand them pressures. How do you manage to cope with that then? And how do you liken that to some of the things you've achieved in your game, whether it's taking a conversion to win a very important game, would be a semi-final or something, or that 4-foot putt to win on a weekend? How do you cope with them pressures?
Love it. I thrive on it. I practiced, especially in rugby. I practiced for them occasions since I've been 4 years of age. And probably I'll go into a little story about that. It's I was a really nervous rugby league player. Before the game, I was violently sick. At half time, I was violently sick just because I needed to play well. And I thought if I played well, it gives the best chance for our team to play well and to win. And so I put all that pressure on me. But leading up to Challenge Cup semi-final in 2009, I didn't sleep for more than 3 hours a night leading up to the game all week. And I'd wake up and I'd be violently sick every morning. Played the game, beat Wigan in the semi-final. Brilliant, we're at Wembley. Fast forward, I think it was 6 weeks to the final. And the week leading up to the final, not once did I have any nerves going into the final. And I'm like, whoa, this is a bit strange. Gets to the game. no sick before the game. I'm going, whoa, there's something going on here. In the tunnel, no nerves, nothing goes out. You know, we beat Huddersfield. It was an unbelievable experience. And I reflected on it a couple of weeks later, and you know what? It took me all the way back to when I was 4 years of age and I first picked a rugby league ball up. And you know, where we live in St Helens, it's all you do. You pick a rugby ball up, you play rugby, or you go and work at Pilts. So every patch of grass that I'd played on from being 4 up until when I signed at 16, up until probably when I played at Wembley, any post, any lamppost was always Wembley. So I'd practiced in my mind since being 4 years of age at playing at Wembley. So I'd done it, you know, the 10,000 hour rule or the 10,000. I'd done it and not realised how well Wembley was like home to me. And that's why I really believe that. Not one bit of nerves. And every time I went and played at Wembley, there was not one bit of nerves. It was mental. Even when I played there for Wales against New Zealand and we're lining up in the ACCA, you know, we got beat 50-0, but I wasn't nervous. It's weird. It's real weird.
And that's one of the things that we talk about with obviously our lads with the academy. That visualisation is massive, but you take it for granted. It just happens. It happens anyway. It's not until you put it into some sort of term like that where you think about it, but you've been doing that since you was 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like them clutch plays. You get nervous over them. No way. Practice. Comes natural. You might along the way, miss a couple. You might miss more than a couple, but you know, it'd be worth it when you nail one, because that, you know, it puts her all to bed, and you know that also builds resilience. You know, you practice. It's not always going on that way. You're going to have bumps in the road. You 1,000,000%. And it builds resilience, and it, you know, I look for that player and that leader who, you know, misses a few, but goes, give me the next one.
Yeah,
that's a leader. That's you know, that's mentally tough, and that's what you look for.
And I think that's a massive thing as well. You know, even just you saying there, you know, how much of a nervous player you was before a game and what you had to prepare for. Because on the pitch, you'd never guess that or never think that. And like say, within those sort of 1 point games as well, you know, you remember watching them and thinking the ball's going to you, you know, and you was worried about. I mean, I remember at one game quite vividly that quarter final in that Challenge Cup against Hull KR when it's to extra time.
Yeah.
And you know, massive, and you knew straight away, even when, you know, when the ball's being passed back to you that's going over, it was, you wouldn't expect you to have those nerves.
Yeah, well, yeah, it honestly, I would really wish, and well, not now, but I did do that. We didn't have half times, and we just blow the whistle, turn around, and let's get off, because it all started over again. And I suppose once you're out on the field, you don't feel that, because you're so visualizing in the moment and being in the moment, and I suppose the more you think about it, the more nervous you get. But yeah, I remember that game really well. I missed 3 before I kicked that winning one, and especially when we was in the huddle just after the end of the game and just going into extra time, and there was a bit of a breeze behind coming from off the docks end. So I just said, listen, if we win the toss, go that way, get us anywhere near the halfway line, and I'll kick one from the halfway line. Yeah, after my 3rd attempt, I weren't too confident, let me tell you, but yeah, perseverance there.
Did me a favour that day, because my son was born on that Challenge Cup final day, so my knocking him out was all right. You touched on before about, you know, being a Lancastrian. You know, how do you reflect on that, and what sort of traits do you think that sort of bred into you, you know, within the game and the way you played?
It's a real strange one, because obviously Lancashire, we are natural Lancashire, but I'm born and bred in Merseyside, which it took over Lancashire just before I was born. But yeah, us Lancashire, we're passionate people. We love to win, and I think that's the one thing, because I always remember the old town teams back in the day, and it was, you know, Wiggins, Oldham, St Helens, Widnes, and Salford, and the likes. And yeah, it breeds a mentality that we want to win, and you know, sometimes win at all costs. I think, you know, we're not as tight as you guys over the Pennines, but you guys are not bad from Hull. I've got to stick up from Hull guys. Obviously, my missus is from Hull, so you know, good people in Hull.
Yeah, we are. That's it. We aren't far off Lancastrians, really. Like you say, I think when it comes to the Yorkshire v Lancashire, there's a lot of passion and it's down to that kind of competitiveness. You said that, about being competitive, and Rob mentioned there, when you look at you as a player, there's no way you'd kind of, as a spec, you're looking at you, anticipate them nerves. You put a lot of work in behind the scenes so you can trust yourself when it comes to them big moments. And this is about kind of drawing out them experiences so people can learn from them, about putting in the hours so you can trust yourself. But understanding you as a person as well, you've said a lot of things kind of helped you from growing up, from being 4 years old, and you've had a lot of kind of experience and obstacles in your way. And I want to kind of probably go a little bit more personal here, and kind of scratch the surface behind Lee Briers and what probably had an impact on you. And that's obviously when you lost your brother. I just want to kind of touch on what that meant to you, how that impacted on you. From you said obviously 15 years ago you had a very kind of different tact on life. How did the loss of your brother kind of maybe shape how you are today and how you performed in the back end of your career?
Massive impact on me, and didn't understand or realise how much that did. When I talk about us carefree, what we spoke about earlier on in this piece, my brother died, and I was obviously devastated, absolutely devastated, but kind of sent me off the rails a bit, and didn't realise that. I just thought it was part of growing up, as you would do. But as you get older and you have time to reflect, and you do reflect on life. I'm a big reflector, and making sure that I don't make the same mistake again. And I went off the rails massively. I was a young kid, 21, earning quite a bit of money, and had the world at my feet. So back in those days, you didn't have the guidance of what people have now, and it's kind of work it out yourself. Well, I always say this about rugby league players. Not everybody is, so I'm not going to paint everybody with the same brush, but we're all from working backgrounds. We're all from council estates, and it takes a certain type of person to play rugby league. You've got to have something loose up top. Who doesn't? We're asked to be saints all week, and then we're killers basically on a weekend. We not me personally, because I was, as you know, was so soft I couldn't hurt anybody. But that's what we're asking people to do. So without the right guidance, I was way off the rails, well off the rails, and didn't know it, and wasn't bothered. And I keep going back to it. It's a journey, and look back on, if I can help somebody who's going through that same thing, well, what I went through was well worthwhile, 1,000,000%. And it was a massive shock to everybody in our family. It's the first time I ever seen anybody buried, and it was my brother. He was quite a bit older than me. He's 13 years older than me. All my brothers and sisters are. So as far as being really close, he was the closest we was out of all our brothers and sisters, because everybody else had moved out. They'd moved out from when I was younger, probably about 4 or 5 years of age. So we was fairly close, but there was a big gap, and it probably took me until probably 2009 that I could go to his grave without crying. And it hurts, of course it hurts. It's my brother. Well, that's life, isn't it? People pass, and you've got to deal with it the best you can. Probably didn't deal with it the best I could have done, but I've got a wealth of knowledge now, and knowledge is power, and I can help other people.
Yeah. How do you sort of reflecting on that, and obviously it's massive to go through, and that, like say at the time we said sort of off the rails, how did that affect you as a player, as much as a person?
Well, I think I got picked for Great Britain that year, so it wasn't that bad. I think he died. We went through a real weird time at Warrington, because I think the same week Nick Cowell lost his wife as well. It was around about that time. So I think we played Castleford on the weekend. I played the weekend, and if I'm brutally honest with you, it's kind of a blur, that little period. Just around his death. But yeah, it would have affected, because stuff like that does affect. But I always say to people who are struggling in life, who have got struggles off the field, as soon as you take that field for 80 minutes, that is the best place you can be. You don't think about anything. If you have got struggles in life, if you are going through a bad time, as soon as you go across that white line to train as well, you forget about everything. It's a great sanctuary for, to be with your 30 best mates, because everybody cares for each other. And as soon as you're on that field, you forget about it. So, people will be doing it tough. People will see this who's doing it tough, and, get out there. It might be hard to get out of bed. It's the hardest thing you're probably going to face, but get out there, go on the field, get with your mates and run about, because you'll forget about it.
Definitely.
You've in them times, like you said, you're picked for Great Britain there in a really tough period, and just like you say, by getting out there and doing that, you've had some massive achievements. Which would be throughout your career, biggest achievement and biggest regret, in that period? If you can maybe look at when you had a real bad time and maybe biggest regret, any mistakes that you might have made, and how you change that towards your biggest achievement.
Well, it kind of contradicts what I'm going to say, because I don't look back at regrets. I honestly don't. I reflect quite a bit, but I don't regret and go, what, maybe I should have done that, because it's everything I've done, be it good, be it bad, be indifferent, it's made me the person I am today, and I'm content with the person I am today. So I'm happy with it massively. There'd be things I could change. Obviously, everybody can change. Everybody in the world go, I could have changed that. But if you dwell on it, well, it's bringing you back down to when it was. So I'm a really positive person who likes to look ahead. So regrets, I don't have them. If I went deep and really and wanted to give you one, of course. But it's made me the person I am today. And the person I am today is, let me tell you, I didn't really do school other than when we played rugby league. Saying that, I finished school with 6 A's. Now, you wouldn't believe that, would you?
Wow.
Absence.
Wow.
So I didn't do school. I grew up on a council estate. I had 3 brothers and 1 sister who were a lot older than me. So, I was kind of fending for myself. Mum and Dad were unbelievables. They still live in the same council house now at 84 and 81. Went to work at 6 o'clock every morning with Mum. Dad worked on the oil rigs. So you can imagine what I used to get up to when nobody was in the house, and nobody really to take care of me. I could do whatever I wanted, and I did. Growing up was pretty crazy. So I had no qualifications, nothing, and to turn my life into what it is now, it just shows anything is possible. Anything is possible, and I am really, really proud of that fact that's happened. And this is only part of my life. I'm ready to go again and achieve more. But so I'd probably say that's my biggest achievement in life, is from where I've come from. I got signed late at Saints at 16. I was probably about 8.5 stone when I signed for Saints. Everybody said I was too small. So to all them people who thought that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy listening to you, Lee, like from a mental point of view, just robust, really happy with where you're at. A great philosophy on how you look at mistakes and accepting that they're part of who are going to shape you in the future and where you are now. Do you think that is a key attribute to have as a halfback, which in effect is a leader on the field, to be able to accept that them mistakes are going to shape you? Some halfbacks who maybe don't make it to the next step, do they crumble with them pressures? Is that what sets you apart?
It quite possibly could, because if you transfer that onto the field, then, I wanted the ball in my hands 100 times more than anybody else. Now, with a lot of averages say I'm going to make more mistakes than anybody else if I want the ball. But I can't dwell on that. If I make a mistake and I'm still thinking of that the next set, well, I'm not doing my job. You've got to, you know, there's a great term we use is don't carry your divots. Now that's a golfing term. So if a golfer, it's a big divot and he don't go anywhere and he's still, well, he's not going to be focused on the next job. And that I always go on, so I use it quite a bit in my coaching careers. What's next? What's next? Don't think about what's just happened. What's next? And if you go by that, well, you should be fine because you're always thinking, and you're always in that moment. You're always in the moment. Don't go too far ahead of yourself and don't think too far back. What's next?
Yeah, and to be able to do that, I think is a massive skill. So so it don't enter your head on your backswing then, not to give it another divot. When you got a little chip shot on backswing as you're about to hit it, don't fanny out of it. That don't enter your head.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Yeah, all the time. But it's what happens when you do it and you're in the same spot in the next couple of holes. What you're doing then? Are you gonna think, oh, same shot, I've just done this? Or are you gonna go to your practice, your routine, your process, actually what you've done 1,000 times, 10,000 times before to get it right? Again, you're gonna make mistakes. That's part of life. But you got to move on from quickly, and don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on it.
Just taking back, because you mentioned then about obviously your time at St Helens as well, and just looking back at your debut, obviously you got man of the match display, and obviously that helped Saints reach the Challenge Cup final, and obviously quite famously now dropped for the returning Bobby Golding. What was your thoughts and feelings around that time?
See, this again, it's part of learning, part of life, and part of what I went through. And we had somebody at Warrington and who played all year round and didn't play at Wembley, so I could teach him, give him my experiences. But as far as being dropped, I'm glad you're saying that and not me, because I didn't see it as being dropped. I was there. I was a young 18-year-old kid. I'd just signed 2 years prior than this, so I'd never think that I was going to play for Saints Academy, never mind being a Challenge Cup semi-final. So it was an unbelievable experience to play the 6 games, what I did, and to help in a tiny little way. If you couldn't play well in that side, geez, you're struggling. So I was in there to do my job, and I got helped by some wonderful players. And Bobby Golding was always going to come back into the side because Bobby was an unbelievable mentor to me, and not many people know. Everybody, like you said, the perception is I got dropped for Bobby Golding. Well, I'm more than happy to step aside for Bobby Golding to come into the side, because for St Helens, which was my team at the time, to win the Challenge Cup final, Bobby Golding had to be in that without a shadow of a doubt. He was the club captain, probably the highest paid player at the club, and he was probably the best player in Great Britain at the time. He was killing it. So I was more than made up for Bobby to come back in. What actually happened was, obviously with Wembley, as you well know, it takes a lot of organising. You go to a hotel and whatnot and go to Wembley. So it takes a lot of organising. I think back then it was in May. So we had about a month to organise it. So directors had a meeting, and let's not forget, I still wasn't full time at Saints then. I was on £29.50 a week YTS scheme, but I got called into this meeting with all the players, all the squad, and it was on about going down to Wembley and what players would go down, and getting fitted for a suit, and hotels for the families and whatnot. And it transpired in this meeting that I wasn't going to go down with the team. I was just going to go with the academy on the day, there and back, which it upset me a bit, that, because I was really looking forward to getting fitted for a suit. I'd never had a suit before. I'd had school pants, but we couldn't afford suits, and the sunglasses would have went well. But the nearest I got to an hotel back in them days was a police cell, so I was gutted. And Chris Joint stood up in the meeting and said, I won't swear because obviously kids are watching, but a few expletives and, backed me all the way. And I was gutted when I walked out of that meeting. And, St Helens was my team. I was, when Nosey Road, I was in Nosey Road more more times when it was closed at night than I was playing. That's where I used to go. We were kicking balls, or I used to play hide and seek in the stands. It was my team. I'd loved it. I'd watched them since being 4. And to get that, I thought it was a bit of a kick in the teeth. But, by no means did I ever once contemplate leaving. It didn't cross my mind. I was gutted, yeah. But life goes on. And then 2 days later, and I don't know how this happened because, we'd only just got a phone in the house, literally. Probably about 3 months prior to this, with my money, what I won for playing in the games, in the Challenge Cup. I bought mum and dad a house phone because we didn't have a house phone. But I don't know how they got my number. And an agent phoned me, Tommy Cunningham, which was Kieran Cunningham's brother, and he said, "Lee, it's Tommy Cunningham. You don't know me. I'm an agent, and I want to represent you." I didn't even know what agents were. I just thought, I could play rugby, and I just play professional. I didn't even know you could get paid before this little period. And to know about agents, I'd not got a clue. So anyway, he phoned me, said, "Would you want to meet? And by the way, Warrington have come in for you. Would you mind talking to them?" Now, me being me, and live off the cuff a bit. I was carefree and going. I just went, yeah, go on. I'll meet up. Let's see what they say. And we met up with Darryl van der Vel and Paul Cullen, and they offered me the chance to be Warrington Wolves number 7, and pay me a good wage, which wasn't bothered about the money anyway. Like I said, I was on £29.50 at Saints every week, and I got £1,000 on my birthday, and 2 season tickets. But season tickets were worthless because I used to rob over anyway. So, and like I said, I was good at school. Warrington offered me 36 grand contract and 36 grand cash. Well, I was shit at maths, but I know that's a lot more than £1,000. So my head was turned straight away, and it again into my reflection. If that phone call probably would have happened maybe 2 weeks later, I would have said no. I don't want to speak to Warrington. I'm a Saints player, but because they got me when I was still a bit stinging, they got me at the right time. Fate's a massive thing in my life, and they got me there and then, and I've never looked back.
Brilliant.
When you listen to that story and the fact that, and again, probably reflecting on everything that you said so far is, yeah, you missed out on a Challenge Cup final, but accepted because of Bobby Golding and who wouldn't, great way to look at it. And how you framed that up isn't about not getting selected or getting dropped. It's about making way for somebody who's going to have an influence on that final, which Bobby obviously would. It's funny how what made you upset isn't the fact of not playing, it's not getting that suit, or not being involved in that. And that's probably a mistake from the club in the town. I'm probably sure they would have changed that if you look back. Just not getting that suit or being involved, for what little effort that would have probably taken.
Yeah, it's little things in it in life. It's not the big things, and I'm a big believer in if you deserve something, you deserve something, isn't it? And I'm just saying now, if a player deserves X amount of money, well, he deserves X amount of money. You've just got to be honest with him. You've got to be honest, and you've got to give people what they like. If people need a day off because they're too tired, we'll get a day off. As long as people are honest, that's the way life's got to be, honest and transparent.
Going from that, massive change there, from being a boyhood Saints player fan to now being number 7 at Warrington. I'll explain that transition for us. And not only how did you cope with that mentally, but how did you establish yourself as a Warrington player and gain that kind of name for yourself and respect from your peers?
Well, that's the first thing you've got to do. You've got to earn the respect from your peers. I was an unknown. I'd had a few good games at Saints. But when you look back, and I look back at him, did I really have that good of a game? I was just playing with unbelievable players. You can't play well when you got Tommy Martin outside, Carl Hammond, Paul Newlove, Chris Joyne, Kieran Cunningham giving you the ball, Steve Prescott, Hunt, Anthony Sullivan. Who can't play well in that team? I was just lucky, really, really lucky, that I ended up in that team. And that, I always speak about when Bobby Golding got sent off, when he banged Neil Cowie. I was on the terraces that day because I was a Saints player first and foremost, but Saints fan. And I was screaming and shouting that he nearly took his head off. But I didn't realise at that time that instance was going to change my life forever. Bobby Golding doing that changed my life forever. So I've got a lot of things to thank Bobby for. One, getting sent off. But two, he was a massive mentor to me. He used to come in on days off, take me with him as well. So I've got a lot of things to thank Bobby. But I had to go to Warrington and, run the team. 18-year-old, 10 stone. 10 stone, can you imagine that now? You can't even get in academies if you're 10 stone. It was a crazy time, but gradually I earned their respect. It probably wouldn't have been by the way I trained, because I weren't a great trainer, but I suppose my actions on the field earned the respect.
Yeah, Rob, I know you've got some questions lined up that you want to ask, but I'm going to jump in and go Maverick, I think, on this. Is just that, especially where you've sat over the last few years as an academy coach, Lee, and you talked about you've been 18 trying to lead the team. Obviously, we work in the academies as well. You see 17, 18, 19-year-olds even that still aren't equipped to do that. How does that compare when you're coaching them boys, when your expectations of them? How do you manage them expectations when you did it so young? And how did that influence your coaching at academy?
Well, it's a great point, and it's if I and I did at first. I will admit that I got it wrong at first when I was, because I expected them to do what I could do, and that's totally wrong, and it's totally unfair of me as a coach to expect that. I suppose not expect it, but think that they can, because I believe that with the right coaching, with the right attitude, commitment, anything's possible. So to go in with it, I was a bit gung-ho and saying, we need to do this, do that. And because I'm acting off the way I did it, well, not everybody's the same. I've since learned that I was very visual. I would watch games till I couldn't watch anymore, because I needed to know what the opposition's weakness and strength was. Not everybody does that. I get it. So everybody learns in a different way. So it's not having. I will never ever drop my standards, but it's. I suppose the word I'd be looking for is that you've got to treat everybody different, and you've got to understand the player. I suppose the person first, and then the player. If you crack that, then Your learning it is limitless. You can go as far as you want with the right tools. And people say that players have changed and they're not as good as the past. I think it's the older people that have changed. These kids, the same people who, like we, have a dream. They want to play as high as they can. The game's changed a lot since I first started. You just got to use the tools rightly and not expect too much too soon.
Yeah, and for them boys coming through that system at Warrington, without blowing too much smoke up your ass there, is to have somebody who's been there and done it as a mentor is exceptional to them. You say they've got a dream, they'll sign for Warrington as a youngster, to start picking up the ball as a youngster, wanting to win a Challenge Cup, and you've done that as a player and a coach. Obviously getting Lance Todd trophy. What was the feeling as a player? What was the feeling for winning that Challenge Cup and lifting that Lance Todd trophy?
Well, it goes all the way back to when I played at Saints and I didn't play in that final. So that was a massive driver. I lost 5 Challenge Cup semi-finals on the bounce. That's like horrendous. You get to 2009, you're thinking it's done. I'm coming to the back end of my career. I'm never going to win one. To get there and win it was just unbelievable. Like I said, the game plan, what we had, and I tell Tony Smith was brought into our club to get us to win trophies, and he did that. His attention to detail of that week was just unbelievable. I've never seen one before. I've never seen one since training weeks to when we went and won that first one. Up until, we knew Huddersfield's game plan inside out. We knew if we were going to kick off that they would go 3 to their left for a +2 kick off Brett Hodgson. So we were going to charge it down, and which we did, and we scored on the next play. it was just crazy. Everything just fell into place. And Tony Smith was a master of the mental side of the game, and he nailed it that day. And we went out and delivered on his plan, which, looking back now as a coach, is something else. To get your players to do that, you're going to get them doing it, but to get them doing it on the biggest stage is just, it takes some doing that as a coach. It's the best feeling ever, because I grew up, wasn't the Super League, wasn't the winning the Super League grand final, it was winning the Challenge Cup. Ever since I first went in 1987 to watch Saints against Halifax when Saints got beat by a point. Ever since then, I wanted to go back and win one, and to get two in 2 years. It's like public buses. One don't turn up for ages, and they come back to back. It was insane, but it's solely what the club deserved.
Just off the back of that, like, what would you say the differences are? So winning it as a player compared to winning it as a coach?
Well, you're never ever going to be able to replicate doing it as a player, because it's just a sensational feeling. Danny, you was there, you guys were there with LFC doing it back to back. It's just mental. It's everything you ever dreamt of, and what we did in 2009 when we won it. The stadium emptied, and we just got like 5 crates of beer, and we just went and sat in the middle of Wembley Field, and we just sat there having a beer for an hour. You can pay as much money as you want, but you can't buy that. You cannot buy it. You can have as much money in the world, but when you achieve something so special as a playing group, it's just sensational. And we had a reunion last year, and to catch up with the boys there who had not seen for a while, and like David Solomon from Australia. As soon as I won one in 212 with Sol, but he was there, and as soon as and you see people, you've got that ultimate bond that for life. You only have to look at each other, and what we did that. To go and do it as a coach was, assistant coach. It's magical, absolutely magical, because now you've got your hands, your fate is in the hands of the players. Hopefully, you have done a Tony Smith, and I must say, Steve Price we went the year before as favourites and got beat, so we learned from that. We learnt massively from that. Did quite a bit different, and we absolutely nailed it. Nobody would give us a cat and mouse chance of beating Saints. Nobody. We had our marquee player out, Blair Costin, so we had to put a back rower at standoff Jack Hughes, who I thought was unbelievable. Simple game plan, nailed the game plan to a T, and totally dominated Saints, which was very special considering I live in St Helens.
As a player, you said about the dynamics of the team. Did that come as a result, and your relationship come as a result of winning the Challenge Cup, or was that there first and a big ingredient to winning the Challenge Cup, that playing dynamic and cohesion as a group?
Yeah, for sure. We had some sensational players in that group, and but it was working out how we played. We got the best out of each other, I suppose. But we look back on them times, and some of the players, Michael Monahan, he was sensational. Matt King, Richie Mathers. Nobody really mentions Richie Mathers, but he saved 3 tries that day in the first 20 minutes, maybe, held up over the line. It was unbelievable. But, oh no, that was the year after. Sorry, I'm flipping. The Huddersfield one was just, it was bonkers. We had Vinnie Anderson playing at 6 that day as well. So maybe, and 10 years later we had a back rower again playing at 6. There might be something in that Wembley.
Yeah, there's a trick. Yeah,
I think that just going back to sort of those feelings as well when you win it. When we was lucky enough, weren't we, to speak to and to be fair, he's come back out of retirement now. But Gaz Ellis, the same thing. After winning 2 back to back, and he said, "You're never going to get that feeling again." And that was what I think drove him to come back, didn't it? Pretty much trying to get that high again, that feeling of that high of, you can't get better than winning Challenge Cup.
No, You know, you can't. And so we're always chasing that high. We're always chasing it. So mine is my golf. So I'm chasing that. So I've set myself a goal, you know, whether it's reachable or not. But why not set high goals? You can try. So I want to play in the seniors tour. Whether I do or not, I'm going to try my best too. So I can do that after, I think it's around 50, 55. So I've got about another 20 years till I reach that.
So what does that look like for you, Lee? You got a goal there? I think that's an outstanding goal, and best to look in that. What does that look like from now to get in there, and what will it look like when you get there playing that? What does that mean?
You know, you've got to straight away. You've got to play off scratch, so a roundabout scratch. So I've got a lot of work to do. I'm off 5 now, which is that's a really good standard, but the standard to get there is super tough. Yeah, listen, I wouldn't be able to compete. It's just one of those bucket lists where you're going, oh, I played on a senior.
You get it done.
Yeah.
You'll get that done, mate. What's your biggest? What's your first area to brush up on? Short game, driving game.
It's got to be, you know, the driver. You know, get it well off the tee. I've just got a new driver end of last year, so I've been gutted that we've been in lockdown, so I've not been able to use it. But I've used it well this week. It's going well off the tee. So I suppose you just keep plugging away in them small. If I keep thinking about the end goal, I'm never going to get those. So just next goal is get to 4. After that, it'll be get to 3 and whatnot. And, you know, just to say that I've played 2 professional sports would be pretty cool. It'll cost me a bit of money to do. I hope my missus is not watching, but you've got to self yourself. But it's gold, and it's gold in life. You've got to have little challenges in life. If I don't have a challenge, well, you know, there's no point, is there?
That's it. Have you had a golf coach, Lee?
Well, I have had some lessons. Yeah, I've had lessons, but I'm not too good at them. I like to find my own way. I like to, you know, making my own mistakes and try to rectify them. I once had a kicking coach, Paul Cullen, give me a kicking coach in 2007, I think it was, and I didn't kick for 4 years. I'm saying with golf, I do the wrong things, I suppose. But yeah, it's just learning from mistakes. Whether that's achievable or not, but it's the end goal.
Yeah, why not, mate? You've achieved enough in sport. To carry it on into golf would be outstanding. When you say that, I reckon that's a good coaching philosophy myself. When you say about you like to do it and learn yourself, rather than have a kicking coach as such or a golf coach. Do you put that into your own coaching practice where you let them boys learn, or do you you tell them?
Well, it's kind of key that you've got to let them make mistakes. I'm massive on letting them make mistakes, and a thing I do is I actually set drills up so they fail, so they can't succeed unless, you know, they get their heads together. And I do that for a couple of reasons. It's good to fail, and it's good to work out that actually how do we fix it. But also it's good to see what leaders stick their head above the parapet. So, you know, a really chaos drill and it's going crazy. There's balls going everywhere. I want to see somebody stop it and go, right, let's do it this way. Let's go on this, do this. Then you're seeing leaders come out, and it's a massive part. You've got to let them fail to get better. Because if you don't fail, you'll never learn. You buy your mistakes. I'm not too fussed about making mistakes in training. You can make them in training. You know, I always say tomorrow will be a different day than yesterday, so we might not make mistakes tomorrow. So don't get too wet up about it. You know, if you can't flick the ball left-handed out and it keeps going to flood, just keep trying it. It'll soon come. You know, you've got to let them do it. But you obviously sometimes they need guidance and they need telling what to do. That's just part of, you know, the complex game we live in. But yeah, you've got to be able to make mistakes. That's how we grow up in life as well, yeah.
Absolutely. I think, you know, when you said about it's making the mistakes and then trying to learn from them, I suppose the problem comes when you make a mistake and don't think twice about it. You've already touched on it several times about being a reflector. I think that'll help you get to where you need to be by being a reflector.
Agreed.
As a player. You mentioned a couple of times, you mentioned about Tony Smith as a coach, what he did in that build up to Wembley. You've mentioned about when you coach and letting them make mistakes and the chaos type of drills. Who is the best coach you've had or worked with, and what are the reasons?
Yeah, for obvious reasons, it'd be Tony Smith. He obviously given him a first taste of success. We got really good understanding relationship. You know, he was certainly the boss. Might have given me a bit of leeway to think I was the boss sometimes, but he was certainly the boss, and I respect him for that. You know, I didn't enjoy it at the time, but in 2009 we got beat by London. We got absolutely pumped down in London, and we were playing Hull KR at home the following week, and he dropped me. Who would have thought Lee Briers could have got dropped for Warrington? Well, I didn't. Certainly my teammates didn't, and certainly the other people, the fans didn't. What that did was so much more than just dropping Lee Briers because he didn't have a great game. It put everybody on their toes. You know, if he's willing to do that, well, you know what, I'm not safe. And that kind of straight away set the standard for all our club to improve every day. And that's what he challenged you with. You had to improve every day. Whether mentally, because I love the mental side of the game, or, you know, on the field.
Talk to me about the time you said you did. At the time, you didn't appreciate it. What did you behave like?
When
he dropped you?
Yeah, well, obviously he dropped me, and you know it stung at the time. But I promised myself there and then that he won't ever dropping me again through form or whatever his reasons was, and he didn't. So I sat on the bench against Hull KR, and you know, I quite liked it actually because I could study the game really closely before I got on. Usually you got to work it out on the run, you know, and got on the field and did my job and never looked back. But he set some really good standards with that, and I think it's a really important message to any coach. A player is never bigger than the team.
Just off the back of that then, obviously the lessons that you learned with it, what would you say your biggest value as a coach is?
Honesty. Yeah. You know, that's the first and foremost. I always go back honest. Be honest. Be honest with your players. Be honest with yourself first. But be honest with your players. And if you get that right, well, I think everything else comes. If you're not honest, I could be telling you anything. Are you really going to believe it if you don't think I'm honest?
Yeah.
You had any real tough conversations with that? If honesty is like your biggest value and you need to tell somebody the truth, whether it be a young kid or a seasoned Super League player, you had any real tough conversations where you try and tell somebody the truth, what they maybe don't believe?
Yeah, you know, you're not going to please everybody. You're not going to please, but if you know that you're true to yourself, you know, you don't ever try to please everybody either. If you are, you're struggling. I've had a few tough ones, yeah. But I always go back to my experiences of 17 years. You know, I've been through it all. And no, with the young kids, the academy lads, that's what my passion is teaching them about life, not just about rugby league. You know, I used to say to them, listen, whatever you've done at the weekend won't surprise me. I've done it a million times harder. So don't worry about it. You can talk to me as a friend. And I suppose what I try to do is be the friend. And, you know, you've got to be the coach. That's my job. But be a friend to them. You know, make sure that door is always open. Whether you're one of the best players or one of the limited players, it's got to be open. And listen, I just love seeing people grow as human beings. If by the end of it, they become a Super League player, well, that's a massive bonus.
How's it been coaching, your own son in that environment and seeing him go through? How have you managed that? How's that been for you?
Yeah, well, I coached Reece from 6 to 14, and then I finished coaching him at amateur. I said, "Nah, that's it now. I've took you as far as you can." And when I said I don't regret stuff, I don't regret this, but I would have done it differently. I wouldn't have coached him because we kind of lost dad and son relationship because I was always coaching son. It was hard for him, hard for me because I always thought I knew right. So he always copped it, whether he had a good game, bad game, indifferent game, he copped it. So I would have done that differently. And at 14, I stopped. So I didn't even want him to sign professional at Warrington. I thought it was too... He wasn't ready for it. I just wanted him to enjoy his rugby. And anyway, he ended up signing. And I hadn't seen him play or train from being 14 to when he actually made his debut at the scholarship 2 years later. So I just left him be. At 14, when I left him, he signed scholarship 15. He had a great year on his own, just did whatever. Left him, didn't even go to his amateur training, amateur games. Did the same at Warrington, don't have anything to do with him. I trust the people what are in place that, he's just another Warrington player when he's there. When he comes home, he's my son. And that's how it is, Obviously, I can help him in ways. We played the same position, and I like to give him advice. Sometimes it's the right one, sometimes it's not. Sometimes he can't, which again, it's coming back to don't expect him to do what I did. But I don't have anything to do at Warrington. It's totally, I'm his dad, and that's how it's got to be. He's got to find his own way in life, and the big thing is, and not, I don't know if people believe, but I'm an honest person, and when I say that he finds his own way in life and he does not get favours, that's the way it's got to be, because you're either good enough or not. And if he gets a leg up when he shouldn't, well, you know what? When he gets to 30, 40 years of age, he's going to struggle. So it's his time. He'll work it out. Whether I don't know, but he'll work it out. And I trust the people who's helping, because we've got some fabulous coaches. Paul Anderson, Super League head coach, Super League leaders, coaching academy. It's just them lads don't know how lucky they are. Yeah,
very detailed, Paul, as well. Like you said, very good work with him, and they are in good hands with him. So I completely get why you would trust him. And I think just from a message point of view, for the people that be listening to this, them community coaches, I reckon 90% of your community coaches are parents. They have got the lad in that team. And I think just listening to what you're talking about there would be a great lesson for them. How tough is it to try and be a coach of your son at the same time as be a dad? I think a lot of people will benefit from that conversation you just had there.
Yeah, it's hard, because who's the first one you're going to bring off? If somebody has to come off, who's the first one coming off? It's always going to be your own son. Or why is he? Because if you don't, you're always thinking in the back of your mind, wow, he's leaving him on. And so it's always your own son. And I remember the day, because I wasn't meant to be coaching, but I turned up as a parent to drop him off at 6 years of age, and the coach didn't turn up. So they asked me.
And that was it.
And that was it.
Like that.
The good thing about that is, there's about 5 who signed on the academy, which I'm not really fussed about. And there's other people who's gone to college and they're doing their A-levels, and they're going to go on to go to university. But, they're all, every time I see them, I have the crack with them, because I've been a massive part of their life. And that, to me, means more than going playing in a Super League game.
Yeah, and that goes back to what Danny was saying there with the community coaches. It's absolutely massive, the impact that you have on the lads, and half the time it's the lads that don't necessarily make it to Super League, the ones that you probably had the biggest impact on anyway.
For sure, 1,000,000%.
Yeah,
absolutely. And listen, you're always going to get the ones who are going to go to Super League. That's the inevitable. But the real crown and glory from me is the one who nobody rates, but you get him through. They're the ones. That's what you do the job for.
Yeah, definitely. Just going on that, what would you say in terms of, like, just mentioned that was one of the biggest areas, but what would you say your biggest area of improvement as a coach at the minute?
Yeah, it's got to be man management. I'm getting better at it, and that's the key to, I think, to any coach. No, not any coach. Any leader in any organisation, be it Asda, Tesco's, Warrington Wolves, All FC. Any leader, you've got to have man management, and you've got to want them people to come to work and give the best for you. So it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing thing. I suppose why I went the pathway I did, taking the academy and stuff, is actually because you learn a lot then, and you have your own team and you're the boss, and you can make mistakes. You can pick the wrong team, you can get the tactics wrong, but you're not under the spotlight. So it's really important I did that. Now it's a bit harder. Why you're at first team level, your man management, you've got an array of all types of characters. But that's a challenge. That's a real good challenge. And I'm massive into CPD, so I spent quite a bit of time with Wayne Bennett. I've been over to Australia in his company. When he come over here for the World Cup Challenge, I go down to London and spend 10 days before they play. So I've done quite a bit behind the scenes with him. He's always there if I need him to speak to. I've been down to England Rugby Union to see how Eddie Jones works. I did, there's all types of things to see how they do it, how the leaders do it, and how they, I suppose, deal with different people. That's the key. And once, I suppose, there's not many people who figure everybody out. Well, the game's played that similar. Rugby League's played that similar. That's probably the easy part. It's getting your players to do it better than anybody else. So you've got to work them out.
Yeah, you say you get the tactical coaches and people that are obviously work ethic's massive, but getting your players to want to buy into you as a person and be that genuine leader, that's huge. When you talk about all that CPD and Eddie Jones and Wayne Bennett and things, what key lessons have you learned from them about leadership? How to be a leader?
Yeah, well, it goes back to that honesty and trust. You've got to show a certain amount of trust in your players, because if you don't, and you're always telling them what to do, it don't work. They'll end up getting the backup, and you've got to be honest. You've got to trust them. You've got to give them a firm amount of trust, and accountability is massive. Everybody's got to be accountable in your organisation. One thing what they do well is they surround themselves with good teams. So they have good coaches around them who are specialists in their areas. Yeah.
Brilliant. Just in terms of, like, say, we mentioned earlier in terms of game breakers and the game breakers cards, and trying to give something, to the community coaches to sort of look at the way, it works at Super League. Because a lot of the time I think there's this misconception of we're doing something totally different, or giving this magic pill or magic answer. What would you say is your best drill activity, or a bit of advice for a coach, and why?
Well, I like to have fun. I like to base all my training around fun. I think you get miles more out when lads are having fun. You've got to do the basics. You've got to do the basics. I get that, and you've got to do them to a point where we're not doing. You can't do it to the point where you're going, we're not just doing this for the sake of doing it. So you've got to put fun in that. You can do all kind of basics with fun, but one of the best ones to have fun and get the lads playing, and it probably goes against everything we should say, but a game of soccer and training is fantastic for fun. Gets them all.
We have a laugh with our lads, because putting rugby players to play football, the coordination is an absolute nightmare, isn't it?
And they just love it, don't they? We have a few soccer balls. We put them out with the rugby balls at the start of training, and we give them a bit of a taster, and right, soccer balls in, and they're like, ah! Oh, You get a soccer ball out and you start with a game of soccer. Something different. They love it, don't they? But yeah, I would definitely say fun. You've got to have fun, and everything's got to be, you know, competitive, fun, game related. So get the ball in and play games against each other.
Yeah, I think that's what we're massive on as well. You know, and I think you touched on it earlier about that chaos. You know,
yeah.
So sometimes it's been brave enough as well of it looking messy. You know, I think half the time it's the perception of what other people think, and you worry about it a little bit too much. But chaos is brilliant for us.
Yeah, brilliant. If they come off smiling, well, they're not bothered if it looks scruffy or not, are they?
Yeah,
and that's the key thing. If you're from we back in the day, Paul Cullen was coach, and we had a break, mid-season break, so we went to Australia to get some, he said, learning techniques and stuff. So we went over 2 weeks and we come back, and he said, right, lads, he said, I learned absolutely nothing in Australia, so we'll get the soccer ball out. We had a game of soccer, and we had a game of soccer. We should call it football. The Aussies call it soccer, don't they? We had a game of football and played football for the full 4 to 5 days. So obviously rugby training, but football before training. We won that game. So we had to do it the next week. So we carried it on, and then we had a beer after the Sunday game. So we carried the football on, and we had a beer after the Sunday game. And we went on a 12-game winning streak doing this. Football, beer after a game, football, beer after a game. Away games, Cull will be up front at bus going, right, lads, we're having a beer. Yeah, we've got to do, haven't we? We did it. We carried this on anyway. The 13th game, we got beat. We were going to break the club record. We got beat. Video on the Monday morning said, slams the pens down. He went, I don't know why we got beat, lads. And we're like, he says, you're drinking too much. It was his choice. We're like, what? You were first one on. But what you could in those days, but hey, we went on a 12-game winning streak playing football, so there's got to be something in it.
Yeah, see, 12 cans in a game of football every week. That's not bad coaching philosophy, is it?
Yeah, it's just,
could buy into that.
If it works, that was my idea. If it's not done, it's yours.
Yeah, a lot of people live by that at our club, don't worry. I was speaking to Scully in the week, and we said about a good question to ask anybody, and we asked him if you could ask any player or coach, past or present, any question, what would it be and why? And his was, he'd asked Lee Briers why it took him so long to get off the canvas when he knocked him out. But what would yours be?
Mine would be to Rory McIlroy. How am I going to get to scratch?
Nice. You said yourself, get a better driver, so you're giving it there, won't you?
Yeah, it's getting there, but yeah. Didn't do too bad yesterday. Shot 2 over yesterday.
What time?
Pardon?
How often do you think you have to put? How often do you think you have to play, Lee, to get to scratch? Twice a day?
No, well, what it is, because obviously it's the comps what get your handicap down. Mm-hmm. But we play comps once a week, maybe twice a week at the club. So it's a practice. Got to practice. And then hopefully it pays off at the weekend.
Mm.
So it's interesting because every day is a different day on the golf course. You know, one day you could be nailing it. Another day, you might think you're doing exactly the same, but just could be hitting it different place on the club, and it's going a different way. But it's my son's birthday today, so I've got a bit of grovelling to do. See if I can get out for 9 holes tonight.
Yeah.
I can feel her eyes dagging into me, Vicky's eyes.
Yeah. You won't go anywhere.
Well, if I go out at 8 o'clock, he won't be bothered really later.
Nah, he can caddy for you. Spend some father-son time together.
Well, I just said to him, I said, pick a training session, what you're doing today. And he looked at me and said, well, if Academy were training today, you wouldn't get a day off, would you?
Yeah, that's a downside to having a dad who's involved in the game.
Yeah, exactly. We've been doing some weights in that in the background, and I don't train, but I'll train on the easy ones, and once the hard ones come on, you're on your own.
Yeah. Well, you've been there and done it. You have all that work to do. Rob?
Sweet. No, I think that I think you've been absolutely outstanding. Some of the stuff that we've gone through there has been top class, and just going back to the main points that we was after anyway. Talk about mental skills, and I think even just golf as a game, it's huge the mental game in it. And I think the attributes there that you're talking about are just sort of transferable. So I think we'll sort of wrap it up there. And thank you for your time. I think it's been outstanding.
Yeah, I just want to say, Lee, I think apart from obviously the mental skills and learning about coaching philosophy on this, is about digging behind the person. And I think for anybody that's watching this will learn something about Lee Briers, from being that player that they see on the field who's, almost got less swagger to being, very kind of humble, honest, hard-working bloke. And for me to learn that as well. I'm sure when we do get beat off Warrington in the future, it won't be as hard to take knowing that you're a good bloke behind the scenes. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate that.
No, thanks for having me on, guys, and it's great to know what you're doing. And I love your passion, Danny and Robert. It's at Hull FC. It's an hard gig, obviously, with what happened to Lee, and then obviously with the academies. But keep going, keep your head down, and it's fantastic what you're doing.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Lee. Thank you very much for your time, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Catch up soon. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Cheers.